While we're getting settled, just a shameless plug for all of the Cantors in training that Danny gave a shout out to. They start this high and they end up like this. So if you want your kid to know Jewish music and to know the service, send them to me.
There's nothing to writing a sermon, so don't.
Nothing at all. Right. Well, wait, we have kids coming to speak. Friday, in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we have all of our seniors who are going to be coming to share some words, so don't miss that service, even though you're tired of coming to services already from Rosh Hashanah. I heard this story from a friend the other day. A woman walking through the grocery store sees a mother and a child making their way through the aisles. The child is fussy, squirming in the cart, and the mother, while struggling too, is remaining calm. Sarah, just a few more things and we'll be done. The child, however, has none of it and begins to cry. Sarah, it's okay, really, we're almost done, the mother says. And then it happens. The child begins to scream. You know the scream. The one that pierces the store and makes the other shoppers glare at the terrible parent who cannot control their toddler. The woman hears the mother say, Sarah, it's okay. We'll get through this store and we'll be home soon. You can have a snack and a drink and we'll rest. And the woman is in awe of the calm of this mother. So while waiting in line, she says to the mother, wow, you are amazing. Sarah is lucky to have such a calming influence as her mother. The mother replies, oh, I'm Sarah. This is Rachel. Mom, Dad, you're watching online. I apologize for all the moments I was Rachel. Thank you for wishing the ancient Jewish proverb on me that I would get my payback. I can say I wouldn't have it any other way. The thing is, I still feel like Rachel. I remember being her. I remember life as a kid before I met my husband and created our family. I remember before this career, I had another life. And that person who lived that life is very real to me. There are also things I have forgotten. It's like there are too many files open in my brain for the life I'm living now that sometimes the old files take a while to open on this computer. I look to my brother, who has a kind of steel trap memory, to remind me of moments on our family trips that seem to have vanished for me. Now, he can remember every food we ever ate, especially the candy, on all of those vacations, and somehow, through that sense memory, it all comes flooding back. And I confess that this year, my heart aches and breaks at the passage of time. I know that coming into this room is hard. It's impossible not to confront our mortality on this day with the words of Unetane Tokef, all the Torahs dressed in white. It is scary. We come here as a community to hold each other close. We hope that those watching online feel some of the power of sitting in this room. We see you. We know you are there. Last night, today, next week, we sit next to seats empty from loss. And we struggle to understand time. Some in this room are urging time on. Move faster, they say. Get me where I want to go, they say. Make me a grown-up. Give me my own life. Some are living like Sarah in the grocery store. There's never enough time. And some are scared at the vast emptiness trying to fill time. We Jews are especially obsessed with time. The Talmud contains arguments about the break of dawn, when you can say certain prayers, when Shabbat begins. And there are people whose sole job is to keep track of the complex lunar solar calendar that makes up the Jewish year. A writer can do nothing for people more necessary and satisfying than just simply to reveal to them the infinite possibility of their own souls, Walt Whitman tells us. And so today, I want to share with you some thoughts about the infinite possibility of your soul and the interaction of that soul with time. It struck me as ironic that just as I was writing a sermon about time, the show Quantum Leap came back for a new season. If you remember that show from the 80s, it was one of my favorites. It is about a time traveler who leaps into someone else's life in the past and is only able to leap again once he rights that wrong in that life. And then there's the iconic movie Back to the Future, and even Groundhog's Day. And if you haven't watched it, take the time to see Somewhere in Time. I think these movies and shows explain a lot, actually, about Jewish time. For us as Jews, time is not a straight line. We don't live life forward, never to return to the past. But time is also not a cycle, endlessly returning back to the same point. Instead, we live our lives on a kind of slinky, a set of coils in which time keeps progressing, but it also comes back to confront itself at every moment along the cycle of the year. In Genesis 24, we read that V'Avraham Zaken, Ba B'Yamim, V'Adonai Ber et Avraham Bakol. Abraham was now old, Zaken, advanced in years, Ba B'Yamim. And Adonai had blessed Abraham in all things. Now, we know that when two words for the same thing appear in a sentence in the Torah, the rabbis struggle to understand the difference between them. Zaken, Ba B'Yamim. The Sfat Emet, one of my favorite Hasidic commentators, explains that to be old, Zaken, means you've experienced many, many days in your life. But to be Ba B'Yamim means that you have taken each of those days with you. Literally, your days have come with you. We are meant to be a people who do not just grow old, but who take each day's wisdom into the next day. Those memories that haunt us are meant to help us, to heal us. Time holds some memories that bring us embarrassment or guilt or even shame. If you type in "no regrets" into Google, you'll see pages and pages, songs, tattoo parlors, celebrities explaining that they live their lives forward, never looking into the rearview mirror. But we are a people who reject that idea of no regrets. No regrets means no interaction with the past. What's done is done. That is not the Jewish way. It is painful sometimes to look at the mistakes we've made. Some of those mistakes have cost us quite a lot. But regret is the very pathway between past and future. The Rambam and Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik both explain that regret is the foundation of the process of teshuvah. We live our past and we relive our past to create a future that is different from what we did before, a tomorrow that is better than today and yesterday. Time holds memories of pain, too. Memories we need to forget. The old joke goes that if women could actually remember the pain of childbirth, there is no way we would do that again. We need to forget the pain of heartbreak, or we'd never love again. We need to lessen the pain of loss and grief, or we'd never be able to live out the rest of our lives. We are told to remember to forget Amalek, the greatest enemy of the Jewish people. Memory is a blessing of time. Letting go is also a blessing given by time. Time holds memories of love. Angering as it might be to say, to love is to eventually lose. And those memories now, in this room today, might be the strongest and the most painful. Those memories, they show up in sneak attacks in the middle of the most mundane moment. They wash over us and we are powerless. But those moments, too, are our teachers. In a Dodgers-Rockies game recently, Freddie Freeman found himself standing at first with Jose Iglesias, who had just hit an RBI single off of Walker Buehler. When Jose got to the base, something unexpected happened. He burst out in tears. Now, this was unusual enough, but what was even more unusual was what happened next. Turns out, this was one of the first base hits Iglesias had gotten since his father had passed away only a couple of weeks before. This was the man who had been his greatest fan, and Iglesias had lost his mother when he was 10. Now, Freddie was really the perfect person to be standing at that base because instead of moving on with the game, he took the time to ask Iglesias what was wrong. He put his arm around him. He comforted him. When Freddie was asked about this moment, he said, "I think it just reminds you to have some compassion, some humility, and just to be kind to others in that moment." That's what's so special about baseball. You get to be around so many people that just care about and love the game of baseball. Time will heal for him. It did for me. You never forget your dad. All I could do was give him a hug. Each holiday, each time around the bases, each sneak attack brings us deeper to understanding. Sometimes the Jewish approach to time is just to sit in it with someone, to show up so we're in it together. Now, sometimes time plays tricks on us. Oh, where'd it go? Eddie. Oh no. Well, perhaps you've seen that internet meme, the one with all the dots. Perhaps you stared at it, at your computer getting mildly nauseated like I did. Maybe you put on your new glasses and you tried to refocus your eyes like I did. The optical illusion can be seen as just that, an optical illusion. Or you could comment, as people did, that what this means is that you can fully never know truth. The meme that broke the internet, which I will show you later, sent off an existential crisis. What if all perception isn't true? Now, the fact is, when we look at something, our brains are not actually seeing the image in the present. Our brains are designed to hold onto past images rather than to see exactly what is before our eyes. And due to an optical illusion, we're unable to process the whole picture at once. Our minds can't see the whole picture of our lives. Moses asked God, "Please let me see your face." But God said, "No, you cannot see my face while you live. But you can see my back. You can see all the places where I have been, and you will understand." There's a parable about a farmer whose horse ran away. How unlucky, his brother tells him. But the farmer only shrugs. "Good thing, bad thing, who knows," he says. A week later, the wayward horse finds his way home, and this time it's with a beautiful mare. "That's amazing," his brother says, admiring the new horse enviously. But the farmer again says, "Good thing, bad thing, who knows." A few days later, the farmer's son climbs up on the mare, hoping to tame the wild beast, but the horse throws him, and he breaks his leg. Good thing, bad thing? Who knows? The next day, the young men of the village are drafted into military service, but because the son's leg is broken, he is excused from the draft. Good thing, bad thing? Who knows? We will never understand or know the end of that story until it is over. We will never, not any of us ever, make it to the promised land. We will never see God face to face where we just understand all the why of it. Moses didn't, and neither will we. Our time is limited. We can decide that this is a tragedy, or we can decide that however painful it is, this construct of life and time is exactly the thing that makes each moment meaningful. The very fleeting nature of time is what helps us really live. At the end of the Talmudic book of Yevamot, Rabban Gamaliel tells a story of a shattered boat that he sees in the distance. He knows a great Torah scholar, one of his teachers, was on that boat, and he grieves for the loss of his mentor. Later, he sees the scholar alive, and he asks, "How did you survive?" The scholar says, "I took hold of the boat, and I rode the waves." That's what we do with our time in a storm. We grab hold of boats, and we ride waves. And in those moments when life isn't a storm, or maybe it's just drizzling, there once was a woman who ran into the artist Picasso in a market. As the story goes, she had seen his extraordinary work and decided to go talk to him. He was so kind and warm in the conversation that somehow she gathered the chutzpah to ask him, "Would you draw something for me?" He replied, "Sure." And about 30 seconds later, he handed her a remarkably beautiful little sketch. "That will be $30,000, he said. "But Mr. Picasso," the woman exclaimed, "how can you charge me so much? That only took 30 seconds. "Madame," he replied, "it took me 30 years. Those 30 years were the way that Picasso built his time. Now, you've all heard the sermons in which rabbis will tell you that on their deathbed, nobody regrets that they didn't spend enough time at the office. But that's not fully true, is it? 30 years of Picasso working hard at his art? Well, what if he hadn't? What if Gandhi hadn't spent time learning spiritual wisdom? What if Shakespeare hadn't worked so hard on his writing? What if Golda Meir and Theodore Herzl and Abraham Lincoln and George Washington had said, "Nope, I'm going home for the day"? All of these people were prepared for their moment to lead because they had worked hard. Don't waste time. The truth is, our souls yearn for the infinite while our bodies live in the finite. To live our time with joy is to accept this, not with resignation, but with gratitude. Because it is only because our days are numbered that we know just how precious they are. A spiritual teacher of mine explains that this beautiful world was constructed in opposites: the ocean facing dry land, night facing day, darkness facing light. In God's world, all these things are one. Time is one. But for us, we have to experience absence to know presence. I offer you on this Rosh Hashanah this prayer, that like Abraham, as you grow old, that you also grow ba b'yamim, that you take your days with you, that they bring you wisdom, gratitude, and joy. Like Moses, may you see where the infinite has been, and may you inscribe the time you have left with blessing. Shana Tova.